My heart stopped when I saw Tony holding one of my dresses for the first time. It wasn't because he was admiring the sleek velvet gown that had taken me months to perfect. Rather, it was because he wasn't supposed to have it. It was the day after my runway show in Lagos, and everyone wanted a piece of the collection, but that particular dress wasn't for sale. Instead, it was my pride and my masterpiece. I wasn't sure whether to scream or keep quiet when I walked into the studio that morning and saw Tony, my stepson, looking at it with the kind of attention you only see in art galleries. Kate, I was just appreciating your job when my gut constricted. That smile was danger, and I knew it was something everyone did. Tony had a reputation for being bold, suave, and much too at ease with the boundaries of right and wrong. This outfit was locked up, Tony. I told him to calm down. You can't just break in. And he finished for me. The way he looked at me wasn't how a stepson should look at his stepmother, and I wasn't looking at him like a mother figure either. The dress wasn't the only thing he had stolen that day, and I crossed my arms in an attempt to hide the ones that were bubbling in my chest. Tony, whatever game you're playing, stop it. This dress isn't some toy for you to relax. His smile widened. Come on, you know I have skills. Kate, he interrupted, walking closer, still holding the dress, as if it belonged to him. His voice was smooth like silk, but his words carried a weight that made me hold my breath. You're overreacting. I just wanted to see it up close. It's a masterpiece, you know. I mean, this stitch work flawless. I should have been flattered by the compliment. After all, Tony wasn't the type to hand those out easily, but instead I felt canard, as if he was peeling back a layer of me. I wasn't ready to expose you. Should go, I said, forcing my voice to sound firm, even though my legs felt like jelly. Your father will be back soon. Tony chuckled, the kind of low, lazy laugh that told me he wasn't planning to leave anytime soon. Dad's always busy, you know that, meetings, conferences, deals. But you're the real star, Kate. The world knows it, and so do I. There it was again, that way. He said my name like it meant more than it should. I hated how it sent a shiver down my spine. I reached for the dress, but Tony stepped back, holding it just out of reach. Not so fast, he said, his tone teasing. You know, I could have taken this, and no one would have noticed. But I didn't. I wanted you to know I had it. Ask me why. I swallowed hard, my eyes fixed on him. Why? Because you intrigue me, he said simply, his gaze looking onto mine. You're not like the others. In order to balance the others, I blinked. This is absurd, Tony. Your father is my spouse, yet you're not content. He lowered the volume of his voice, as though he were disclosing a secret. But Kate, you don't have to say anything. I saw how you smiled for the cameras but never at him, and how you threw yourself into your stroll, as if it were the only thing keeping you going. I wanted to disagree, but I held back because I knew in my heart that he was right. Look, I'm not trying to complicate things. For a brief moment, the room felt too small and the air too thick. So I wanted to push him away and tell him he was out of line, but all I could do was stand there frozen as his words took hold. Then, as if sensing my hesitation, Tony put the dress on the table next to me and smiled knowingly. Tony kept moving closer until there was hardly any space left between us. But if you ever need someone who truly sees you, I'm right here. I'll see you later. I tried to concentrate on dinner with my husband Emeka that evening, but he was occupied on his phone as usual, talking about the newest mare, and the only sound in the room was the clinking of silverware against plates. Kate, are you listening? He turned and left, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding and my head spinning. The dress might have been safe, but something else had been stolen that morning that I wasn't sure I could ever get back. The voice of Ema pierced my mind. Later that night, as I stood in my studio staring at the dress he had touched, I realized something. Tony wasn't just trouble. He was temptation, and the worst part was that I wasn't sure if I had the strength to resist him. The days that followed were a blur. I looked up and said, Sorry, I was just thinking about work again, he guessed, shaking his head. You need to take a break. Maybe we should go on a trip somewhere quiet. I forced a smile, but even as I said it, my thoughts kept returning to Tony's words, his gaze, and his presence. I immersed myself in my work, sewing, drawing, and organizing for an impending fashion show in Abuja, but no matter how hard I tried to concentrate, Tony's remarks continued to linger in my head like the unmistakable smell of a pricey perfume. He also began to visit the studio more frequently. He pretended to be interested in my craft and asked me uninvited questions about fabrics and designs, but his eyes revealed a different story. One afternoon, as I was adjusting a mannequin, he leaned against the doorway with his arms crossed and watched me work too hard. His voice broke the silence. I didn't look at him, and you don't put in enough effort. He laughed and moved closer. You know, Kate, you're the most fascinating woman I've ever met. I froze, clutching the fabric in my hands. Stop it. Whatever game you're playing, it's not funny. I'm not playing, Kate, Tony said in a serious tone. I turned to face him, my heart thumping. Whatever this is, it has to stop. You're my stepson. This isn't right, he said, and I moved back, putting distance between us. I'm not playing, Kate. Gently, Tony, I'm married to your father, I said, my voice trembling. Do you know what this would do to him, to us? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from my face. His touch was gentle, but it sent a shock through me. For a moment, I stood there, cut between what I knew was right and what my heart was screaming for. But then reality hit me like a cold wind. Tony, you need to leave, I said, firmly, stepping away from him. Whatever this is, it ends here. Do you understand? He looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded. If that's what you want, it is, I said, though my voice barely sounded convincing even to me. He turned and walked out of the studio, leaving me standing there, my emotions in tea. As the door closed behind him, I sank into a chair, my hands trembling. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Emeka was fast asleep beside me, his breathing steady. I thought about the life we had built together, the trust, the sacrifices. I thought about the kind of woman I wanted to be, the legacy I wanted to leave. And in that moment, I made a decision. The following morning, I sat Tony down and listened to him. I started off by saying, I care about you, but not in the way you want me to. You're young and have your entire life ahead of you, so don't let a passing emotion ruin everything. He looked at me, his expression softening, and I realized that you were stronger than I had previously believed. Kate, I gave a little grin, and I said, are you okay with this? Let's not let this ruin us, or your father. We can't go down that road. For once, he didn't dispute. Instead, he just nodded and walked away, this time giving wise counsel to ladies. Life will put you to the test in unexpected ways. Temptations may arise, particularly when you're feeling exposed or weak, but keep in mind that your value is in your fortitude, integrity, and capacity to put right above convenient. Preserve your connections, your peace, and your principles. Always select the course that allows you to look in the mirror with pride, because no short moment is worth losing who you are or the confidence of those you care about. Let's go right to the lesson for this specific tale. Feeling emotionally supported is important, but it's best to get that support from healthy sources. If you find yourself turning to your stepon for emotional comfort, now is a good time to increase the number of people in your support system, forge closer friendships, or even join groups where you can talk to others going through similar things and get support. You can get the emotional support you require from a network of reliable friends or a community without crossing family boundaries, and the lesson here is that having a strong support system will make you feel appreciated and understood, which will make it easier to keep up good family relationships. If you watch the entire video and learn something new, please consider giving it a thumbs up. You can also use the comment section below to share your thoughts and ask any questions you may have about the video. We hope to see you all in our next video.